Mr. Speaker, the government's quarantine program is in complete ruins. The hotline doesn't work. Travelers are ignoring the quarantine and waltzing right out of the airport, sometimes receiving fines, sometimes not. Most disturbing, there are reports of violence and people in quarantine hotels not being kept safe. If no part of this program is working, why has the government not suspended it?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Canada has some of the strictest travel and border measures in the world, and that is absolutely as it should be. There are new variants of concern in the world, and our government will always do whatever it takes to protect Canadians. As a mother, as a woman, as a feminist, I am deeply concerned by the reports of violence and sexual assault. No one should ever have to fear for her safety.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, I agree. But people are fearing for their safety. This government knows there are risks in the quarantine hotels they've set up. Health Committee documents show the government has been planning this series of quarantine hotels since June. But with more than 7 months of planning, they've still failed to keep Canadians safe. Australia and other countries had similar problems that this government could have learned from. So I'll ask the Deputy Prime Minister again, when she knows there are problems with safety for Canadians, why is this program still in operation?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this program is still in operation precisely because all Canadians are unsafe as long as the coronavirus is circulating in the world. And by introducing strict border measures, including obligatory quarantine, we are acting to protect Canadians, something we will always do. And let me remind everyone in this House and everyone listening that no one should be traveling outside the country for non-essential reasons right now.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals' border and travel restrictions have been chaos from day one. Their rules have consequences for Canadians' lives. Shockingly, there was an alleged sexual assault on a vulnerable woman at a federally run quarantine hotel, and a federally contracted official is charged with harassment, extortion, and a sexual assault on a woman while enforcing federal rules. The Public Safety Minister is directly responsible. Will the Liberals shut it down before one more Canadian is harmed?
Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as the member knows, border measures are an important component of protecting Canadians from the virus, indeed from the variants of concern. And it now is an important time to remind all Canadians that travel is to be avoided. I will say these allegations are deeply concerning, and they are under investigation, Mr. Speaker. My officials are reviewing all the processes and protocols, including with service providers, to ensure the safety of all Canadians. But I will repeat, the border measures that we have in place are there to protect Canadians.
The Honourable Member for Lakeland.
I didn't ask about the charges or the investigations. I asked what the Liberals are going to do. And so-called concern and words are not enough. People are unsafe because this abuse happened in a federal facility run by the federal government with federal workers under federal rules. And what's galling is another woman complying with federal rules in the sanctity of her own home was extorted and assaulted by a screening officer sent by the federal government. So will the Liberals stop it right now?
Honourable Minister.
I'm deeply concerned to hear the member opposite suggest that we stop our border protection measures. In fact, they are some of the strictest in the world for good purpose, Mr. Speaker, to protect Canadians against the variants of concern, to protect Canadians against COVID-19 from entering our border, to protect families from travelers that have returned and inadvertently infected their loved ones. Mr. Speaker, these allegations are under investigation. We take them very seriously, but we will continue to apply appropriate measures at the border.
The Honourable Member for Calgary Nose Hill.
Upon entry into Canada, her passport was seized and she was forced into a taxi without knowing where she would be taken. She was forced into a federal-run facility under a federal duty of care by the Liberal government, and she was sexually assaulted. This is misogyny and a gross violation of her rights. The Deputy Prime Minister and the Health Minister have implied the victim shouldn't have traveled. Were they suggesting that she deserved what happened to her under their duty of care?
Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, every woman deserves to live a life free of violence and a life of dignity. But I will repeat, these border measures are in place to protect Canadians, and they will remain in place until such time that science and evidence indicates that it is safe to release them. The member opposite knows that this matter is under investigation. We take all of these allegations very seriously.
Honourable member for Calgary Nose Hill.
His attention was unwanted, but he still made his way into her room. He touches her. He took a condom out of his pocket and asked her to sleep with him. She said no. He insists. She was terrified, but no help came. He masturbated in front of her. If this is making those who are listening uncomfortable, good. Imagine how she felt. After she was told she could go to the hospital, but she would have to come back to her place of assault. They had removed the security locks from her door. Would the Minister of Health put herself in this situation? And if not, why is she subjecting others to it?
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the assault of a woman is never okay. These are serious allegations and they are under investigation. Having said that, I will say that the border measures that we have in place are there to protect Canadians. We will continue to ensure that Canadians are protected, that they are safe, and we will refine processes with our service providers to ensure that happens.